Today's story is about a servant who has an affair with a king's wife. When the king learns about this, the servant disguises himself to escape punishment and begins working in a church. However, he has no idea that the nuns, who appear pious and religious on the surface, lead challenging lives filled with strange desires. As he enters this environment, a series of unexpected events unfold, completely altering his life and the lives of all the nuns. At the start of the story, we are introduced to a nun named Fernanda, who was seen making her way to the church through a dense jungle while guiding her donkey. Upon reaching the church, another nun, Sister Genevieve, confronts her and asks where she was last night. Fernanda casually replies, "Like always, my donkey had fled, and I had gone to find it." Sister Genevieve responds, "I locked the door properly. How could it flee?" While they're arguing, Luro walks by and greets them with a polite good morning. Instead of replying, they scold him harshly and dismiss him rudely. In the following scene, all the sisters gather in the church for their morning prayers. The superior, Sister Maria, notices Fernanda and questions her about her whereabouts the previous night. Fernanda repeats her earlier statement, "My donkey had fled, and I had gone to find it." Sister Maria, still suspicious, frowns, but decides not to press further and dismisses her for now. Meanwhile, Sister Genevieve is seen flipping through a book. She stumbles upon a peculiar illustration and some strange rituals described in it. Curious, but also settled, she quickly closes the book and puts it aside. On another side, Sister Alessandra is visited by her father, who has come to discuss her future. He mentions that he is searching for a suitable groom for her, but laments that all the good men demand a hefty dowry. Alessandra suggests that he reduces donations to the church so they can afford the dowry. However, her father refuses, saying it wouldn't be appropriate. He reassures her, saying, "Don't worry about marriage. Whether you marry or not, you'll still have a wonderful life." Alessandra is heartbroken because all she wants is a happy and fulfilling life through marriage. The next day, we see Alessandra, Fernanda, and Genevieve together carrying their knitted clothes. Alessandra tells them about her conversation with her father, and the other two sisters sympathize with her. As they are talking, they notice Luro watching them while working nearby. His gaze feels intrusive and inappropriate, making the sisters uncomfortable. Angry and irritated, they begin throwing his belongings around in a fit of rage. Not satisfied, they even physically assaulted him. To really see their anger elsewhere, Father Tommaso, a priest at the church, is seen traveling to the market to sell the knitted clothes made by the sisters. On his way, he encounters Luro, who looks frustrated and announces, "Father, I don't want to work in the church anymore." Tommaso tries to calm him down, assuring him that things will improve and asking him to reconsider. However, Luro is firm in his decision and walks away. A few miles from the church, we are introduced to a landlord named Lord Bruno, who is staying in with his wife Francesca. Although Bruno talks passionately about his wealth and accomplishments, Francesca's attention is entirely elsewhere. She keeps glancing at their servant Musette, who also looks at her. It becomes evident that there is an ongoing affair between Francesca and Muette. Later that night, Francesca and Muette are shown in bed together, having an intimate moment. Francesca confides in Muette, saying, "My husband can't make me happy. All he ever talks about is his glory and splendor." After finishing the first round, Francesca and Em start preparing for their second. When they hear Bruno entering the room, panicked Muette quickly jumps out of the window to escape. Bruno notices him fleeing and immediately begins searching the servants' quarters to find him. Muette, however, reaches his own quarters first and pretends to be asleep. Bruno, determined to uncover the culprit, checks each servant to see whose heartbeat is racing. When he gets to Musette, his suspicion grows, but because of the darkness, he cannot identify him clearly. To ensure he has a clue, Bruno cuts off a small lock of M's hair. However, as soon as Bruno leaves, Muette cleverly cuts small portions of hair from all the other servants, leaving Bruno confused. The next morning, Bruno lines up all the servants and inspects their hair, but because all their hair has been trimmed, he cannot determine who the culprit is. Frustrated, Bruno warns everyone, "Whoever is responsible for this, I will find you, and you won't escape my wrath." To assert control, he orders everyone's hair to be cut short. Later, while Bruno and Francesca are dining together, Bruno warns her, "I know you're involved in this mess. If I find that servant, I'll deal with both of you." Francesca, unfazed, responds coldly, "You'll do nothing, you only threaten." Observing their behavior, Bruno begins to suspect that Musette is the guilty servant. That evening, Bruno spots Musette working outside with Francesca nearby, trying to flirt with him. Musette resists her advances, but this time Bruno witnesses The scene from a distance enraged, he commands his men catch that servant, and bring him to me. Immediately realizing he has been caught, Musette flees with Bruno's men chasing after him through the forest. After running for a long time, Mouette encounters Father Tommaso, who had overturned his cart due to drunkenness, spilling all the sisters' knitted clothes into the river. Seeing this, Musette helps Father collect the clothes. Grateful for M's help, Father learns he is homeless and decides to take him to the church. At the church, Father feeds Musette and gives him shelter, advising him, you must pretend to be deaf and mute, or the sisters here will not let you live in peace. The next morning, Father introduces Mouette to Sister Maria, saying, I've brought a man who is skilled in all kinds of work, but is deaf and mute. He can replace Luro as the gardener. Maria agrees and hires Mouette. Unaware of this, sisters Alessandra and Fernanda see Musette working in the garden and assume he's an intruder. Fernanda grabs an axe and rushes toward him, demanding, who are you? Speak up, or I'll make you. Before she can attack, Alessandra intervenes, and Sister Maria arrives to clarify, this is our new gardener Mouette. He is deaf and mute, so he cannot respond. Fernanda reluctantly backs off. Later, Sister Maria gathers Alessandra and tells her the clothes you sisters knitted were stolen by robbers while Father was on his way to the market. I'm sorry for your hard work going to waste. To make up for it, we'll bring in more people to help with the knitting so we can produce more clothes in less time. Maria then assigns Alessandra a new assistant named Vu to help with the garments. Alexandra is seen working with an elderly nun, Sister Vu, on sewing clothes. During her work, she accidentally breaks the frame of the sewing machine. Frustrated, she approaches Musette to get it repaired. However, Sister Jive notices Alessandra sneaking away and begins following her secretly. Alessandra hands Mouette the broken frame, asking him to fix it. While Mouette gets to work, Alexandra starts venting her frustration, saying, I don't want to stay in this place. I hate sewing. I just want to leave and live my life freely. Mouette remains silent, act deaf and dumb as instructed, which Alessandra knows. Feeling safe to express herself, she continues ranting without holding back. That night, Father Tommaso visits Musette in his quarters, asking, how was your day? These sisters can be quarrelsome and make work tough. Musette replies, yes, some are troublesome, but I'll manage my duties. The father reassures him, don't worry, they won't harm you, just stay deaf and mute as agreed, and let me know if anything unusual happens. Meanwhile, Fernanda is in her room reading when a stone hits her window. Opening it, she finds her childhood friend Marta waiting outside. Excited, Fernanda sneaks Marta into the church, and they go to Alexandra's room together. The three start drinking wine and enjoying themselves. A little later, Sister Genevieve joins them, and the group becomes lively, laughing and sharing stories. During the conversation, Mara begins talking about romantic encounters and claims there's a special herb that can attract boys when used correctly. Intrigued, the others eagerly listen and laugh along. The next day, Alessandra, influenced by Marta's romantic talk, starts acting on her thoughts while Musette is busy working. She approaches him with a handkerchief she has made. She says, here, I made this for you, using it to wipe the sweat from his forehead. She then sits close to him, making small talk. Suddenly unable to hold back, she kisses him. Musette, despite his caution, gives in, and they share an intimate moment. However, the church bell rings, startling them both. Alessandra quickly composes herself and hurries off to join the prayers. While praying, Fernand notices mud stains on Alexandra's scarf and dirt under her nails, which raises her suspicion. Later, while Jive and Fernanda are washing clothes, Alessandra, looking unusually cheerful, joins them. Fernanda asks, why are you so happy, and how did your clothes get so dirty? Alessandra teasingly replies, I was working with Mouette. That's why. Both Genevieve and Fernanda exchanged suspicious glances, since Alessandra rarely works, but Fernanda silently begins to understand what might have happened that evening. Fernanda and Marta sneak into the forest, searching for the herb Marta had mentioned. They eventually find it and prepare a strange liquid by boiling it. Marta applies 2 drops to Fernanda's eyes, then cuts her own finger, using her blood to draw symbols on Fernanda's cheeks. Unknown to them, Sister Jive is secretly watching everything. Afterward, Fernanda and Marta head to M's room. Fernanda startles him by brandishing a knife, trying to scare him and attempting to charm him. Mouette feels confused, but eventually succumbs to their advances. The three of them engage in an intimate encounter, giving in to their wild desires. Once finished, Fernanda and Marta leave the room, acting as if nothing happened. Outside, they run into Sister Genevieve, who questions them, what were you two doing in there? Marta dismisses her with an excuse, we were just checking on something, and walks away. However, Genevieve grows even more suspicious, sensing they are hiding something. The next morning, the head Father Bishop arrives at the church for an important visit. Father Tommaso and Sister Maria greet him warmly. Meanwhile, Musette sneaks into Alexandra's room, and the two begin indulging in their secret relationship once again. However, they are startled when Sister Vu suddenly enters the room. At first they don't notice her, but Musette eventually spots her and accidentally speaks, shocking Alessandra. Quickly they compose themselves, with Alessandra pretending to assist Vu while Musette hides under the bed. Luckily for them, Sister Vu, being hard of hearing, doesn't realize what was happening. Musette quietly escapes through the window without making any noise. The next day, Jive sees Musette resting and, driven by jealousy, starts preparing a herb to attract him. However, instead of using it properly, she drinks the concoction under its influence. She cuts her hand, smears blood on her cheeks, and goes straight to M's room. There, Alessandra confronts Musette, asking, "Why did you lie about being deaf and dumb?" Hearing Jive's voice, Alessandra hides in a corner while Musette pretends to be asleep, overcome by the effects of the herb. Genevieve approaches Musette, behaving erratically. But as Fernanda's footsteps are heard approaching, Genevieve quickly hides in the same corner as Alessandra, leaving both of them shocked to see each other. Fernanda enters the room holding a knife and ties M's hands while blindfolding him. "You're coming with me," she says menacingly, and drags him out toward the forest. Alessandra and Genevieve secretly follow them, hiding in the shadows. By the time they reach the forest, it is night. A fire burns in the clearing, surrounded by a group of girls dancing without clothes. Musette is tied nearby, trembling with fear. Alexander whispers, "What is this?" to which Genevieve replies, "I once read about rituals like this. These girls are trying to gain witch-like powers by sacrificing a human." It's revealed that Fernanda has been sneaking into the forest in disguise to partake in these rituals, and Marta has recently joined her. As Fernanda and Marta prepared to sacrifice Musette, he screams, "Please don't kill me." This reveals to everyone that he isn't deaf or dumb. Shocked but undeterred, Fernand moves closer with a knife. Genevieve, still under the herb's influence, suddenly strips and joins the dancing girls. Seeing this, the other girls panic and begin running away. Marta confronts Jev angrily, and the two begin fighting. Amid the chaos, Fernanda attempts to stab Musette, but Alessandra intervenes just in time, snatching the knife from her. A scuffle ensues, during which Genevieve strikes Marta with a stick, knocking her unconscious. Jive then quickly changes into Marta's clothes and grabs a donkey to rush back to the church. As she approaches the church, she shouts Fernanda is a witch. Hearing the commotion, Father Bishop comes outside. Genevieve continues to shout Fernanda is a witch. Just then, Fernanda, Alessandra, and Musette arrive at the scene. Fernanda calmly retorts she's lying, she drank that herb and is speaking nonsense in a drunken state. Jive insists, "No, I'm not lying, they're all involved together, and both of them have become intimate with this garter." Father Bishop, shocked, demands an explanation from Sister Maria. Before she can respond, Father Tommaso steps out of Maria's room. The sight leaves everyone stunned, and Father Bishop, piecing everything together silently, realizes the depth of the chaos within the church. The next day, Father Bishop punishes everyone involved and demands that they apologize to God for their action. Father Tommaso receives the harshest punishment for misusing his position as a father. As a result, he is sent to a church, a place where only men reside. Meanwhile, Musette is handed over once again to Lord Bruno, and his soldiers arrest him. Later we see the three sisters Fernanda, Alexandra, and Genevieve reflecting on their actions. They apologize to each other for their past wrongdoings. Genevieve also asks Fernanda for forgiveness, acknowledging the pain she caused. As they think about Musette, they realize that Lord Bruno might kill him. Driven by guilt and the desire to help, they devise a plan to save him. Meanwhile, Lord Bruno has Musette imprisoned and informs him coldly, "I've tied my wife with dogs and wild animals so that she suffers a painful death. Now it's your turn, but I won't kill you. I will keep you alive and torture you even more." With a malicious grin, he leaves, leaving Musette in despair. Musette pleads for his release, but the soldiers only mock him and refuse. However, the sisters have a plan in motion. They secretly leave a turtle with a burning candle, leading the soldiers to follow it. As the soldiers chase the light, the three sisters manage to sneak into the prison and rescue Musette. They replace him with a dummy and dressed maid in the sisters' clothes, ensuring it will confuse the soldiers. With Musette free, they begin running toward the forest to escape. As they make their way through the woods, they encounter Maria, who is on her way to meet Father Tommaso. Both Maria and Father Tommaso are overjoyed to see each other, as they had fallen in love. but had been unable to stay together. As they share a quiet moment, they suddenly hear noises and quickly hide. Fernanda spots her donkey and wonders aloud, how did this donkey end up here? But Genevieve quickly ushers her away after they leave Maria, and Father Tommaso realize that the sisters have freed Mewett. Instead of being upset, they smile at the sisters' cleverness and exchange knowing glances. If you're visiting our channel for the first time, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.